We're having some great conversations around the room and folks are getting acquainted, but we would ask that you find a seat, if you would please, so we can get started. Thank you all for being here. My name is Rich McClure. I'm one of the co-chairs of the commission, and on behalf of Reverend Starsky Wilson, my partner and fellow co-chair, and the commissioners here tonight, we are delighted that you're here. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for being interested in education and child well-being, and we're looking forward to learning a lot tonight. We'll have folks coming in, and so please make them welcome. And we do have a full agenda, so we appreciate your participation and your willingness to be here to help us learn from you. As has become our custom, we are very pleased to open our meetings with an invocation, and tonight we have Mariah Jones, who is an 8th grade student here at Westview Middle School, and we are really delighted that Mariah is here, and she's going to come provide our invocation. Mariah, thank you.
Lord, please bless us with a peaceful and successful meeting. We ask for safety for the leader of the commission and its members. Please fortify the members with wisdom. Motivate the teachers to be devoted in the midst of all that is going on. Give them the necessary patience to help us succeed. Help my peers to connect to positive influences. Help us to develop into strong community members and leaders through working the Ferguson Commission. We ask for peace for everyone affected, as well as safety for all. Amen.
I'd like you to please join me in thanking Mariah, but also thank her family who's here on the back row with her. Thank you, Mariah, and thank you to the Jones family. We're very pleased to be hosted here at Westview Middle School, and the principal of Westview is Mrs. Valeska Hill, and she's come to offer greetings, and so let's show our appreciation for the kind hosting that they have done for us here at Westview. Mrs. Hill.
Good evening. Oh, let me try that again. The people behind me were louder than the people in front of me. So let me try that one more time. Good evening and welcome to Westview Middle School. Good evening. Okay, turn to someone and say, it is a great day to be a Ram. Again, the people behind me were just a little louder than the people in the audience. So let's try that again. It is a great day to be a Ram. Again, it is our pleasure to host this wonderful event. It is our hope that the designated group, they're able to come together and make some magnificent recommendations so that we can move forward as it relates to the issues that we've been faced with. We at Westview Middle School are going to keep on keeping on, and we know that we can only do that with community support. So again, we thank you. We know you could have been any other place, but instead you chose to fellowship with us here at Westview Middle School. Again, on behalf of Superintendent Dr. Spurgeon and Riverview Garden School District, we appreciate your attendance, and we hope that you learned something tonight that you will make a difference in tomorrow's youth. Thank you.
We again thank Mrs. Hill for the opportunity to be here on today, and of course we thank young Mrs. Jones for her invocation as well. We're glad that all of you are here. My name is Starsky Wilson. I'm honored to serve as co-chair of the commission, and more than anything else, I'm really excited about tonight's conversation, quite frankly, because it is an extension of a conversation that we began on January 10th with a vibrant and vital group of young people on the campus of Florissant Valley Community College. Tonight we focus on educational inequity and child well-being. This issue was ranked among a list of about 9 different disparities listed in the executive order that created the commission. Education was listed at the top. And so we have ordered our work since that very first meeting on December 1st to function to prioritize those areas that the community has prioritized, to gain community input on these issues, and then hear from those who may may be able to provide us with some recommendations on a way forward and path forward for our community. The young people that gathered, just about a little under 200 of them, on January 10th at the summit discussed what they need to be safe, supported, and healthy in their homes and their neighborhoods. That information will be set as kind of groundwork for the beginning of tonight's dialogue as well by some of the facilitators who were with us in that meeting. We will have the opportunity to build upon the momentum that's been building around educational issues throughout our region. We'll hear from those who are experts in the area of child well-being, but more than anything else, I think it's important that we will begin with the voices of young people reflected into this room for you from that January meeting. We invite all of you to be a part of the open mic session. We will, as is our custom, have a period where we'll have an open mic and have the opportunity for your voices to be heard in this meeting. From this mic to the entire group, we'll also have opportunity to break out into smaller groups to have dialogue within those sessions as well, to continue to amplify the voices of our community. We will also, on tonight, stand up another working group around these issues of educational inequity and child well-being. We have been guided throughout our meetings and sessions quite handily by Rebecca Bennett of Emerging Wisdom with support from Lorna Godwin and the team from Vector Communications. They are currently making it through the aisles, getting to you some important keypads, so make sure you get one in your hand. But right now I want to transition to Rebecca Bennett, who will give us guidance on the way forward. Please welcome her as she gives us leadership.
Good evening, commissioners. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Rebecca, could I interrupt you just one quick second? I forgot to do two things.
Okay.
First of all, I note that we are missing one of our commissioners who is ailing on today. So we want to invite your thoughts and prayers for Kevin Albrand, who is not with us. But we also want to lift up that today, happy birthday is in order for one of our commissioners. Reverend Tracy Blackman celebrates her birthday on today. So we let folks know at the last meeting that gifts were welcome. So if you have them, you can see her at the end of the meeting. Rebecca.
Well, I have a birthday in 2 weeks. Can I get some gifts too? Good evening, everybody. We are thrilled and delighted that you are with us this evening. You will have noticed that you received keypads for some audience polling that we are going to be doing this evening. May I hold yours for a moment? Some of you have been through this before, so if you have, please provide coaching to your neighbors. If you have not been through this before, though, this is an opportunity for us to get oriented. This keypad, raise your hand if you've used one of these before. So many of you, but not all of you. You'll notice that the buttons have numbers and letters. And so what we'll do is when you see, you'll look at questions, they'll give you options. When you see the option that most closely approximates or resembles your answer, you simply click that button, okay? If you make a mistake and you decide that you want to change your answer, just push another button. It will cancel out your previous answer. Everybody with me? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get started by doing that audience polling. We'll have a practice question that'll ask you what your favorite color is, and we'll talk to you about when polling is open and when polling is closed, and then we'll go into the demographic questions and activities. So, Ms. Jerica, if we could begin. So our very first question is a practice question. What is your favorite color? You will notice up on the right-hand side, it says there's a red box that says polling is closed. So if you were to push the clicker right now, nothing would happen. It would not register. You're going to wait until that's green and it says polling is open. So what's your favorite color? You have a number of options: A, black; B, brown; C, blue; D, green; E, orange; F, purple; G, red; H, yellow; I, white; and J, other. So we ask that you select one. Polling is now open. We have about 15 seconds remaining. All right, we had 101 responses, and almost one out of every four, a little more than one out of every four of you have said blue is your favorite color. 1 out of 6 has said purple, and 1 out of 6 has said red. So you got the hang of this. Fantastic. All right, we're going to go through the others fairly easily. Jerica, if you would. In what geographic area is your primary home or residence located? A, St. Louis City, B, St. Louis County, C, St. Charles County, D, Jefferson County, E, Franklin County, F, St. Clair County, G, Madison County, H, Monroe County, and I, other. Polling is now open. Please make your selections. Yes, if you've got the kind that actually lights up, then that's fine, and if you don't, then we trust that it's registered. You can press again. Okay, polling is closed. 64% of you, almost 2/3 of you, said you are St. Louis County residents, and nearly 1 out of 3 said St. Louis City residents. Now we'd like to know in what geographic area is your primary work, or where do you attend school? So we ask A, St. Louis City, B, St. Louis County, C, St. Charles County, D, Jefferson County, E, Franklin County, F, St. Clair County, G, Madison County, H, Monroe County, or other for I. Polling is now open. I took your clicker, you didn't tell me. We've got 5 more seconds. So almost 6 out of 10 of you work or go to school in St. Louis County, and almost 3 out of 10, or a little more than 3 out of 10 in St. Louis City, and then the rest are spread. Let us continue. With which gender do you identify? A, female, B, male, C, other, or D, decline. Polling is now open. Five more seconds. So, 6 out of 10 of you in this room who are voting are women, and roughly 4 out of 10 of you are men with some identification as other. Let us continue. How would you describe your ethnicity or race? A, white, B, black or African American, C, Hispanic, Latino or Spanish origin, D, Asian, E, American Indian or Alaskan Native, F, Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, G, other, or H, decline. Polling is now open. A few more seconds. Okay, so again, roughly 6 out of 10 of you identify as African American, a little more than 3 out of 10 identify as white, and 6% of us in the room identify as other. Let us continue. In what age group do you belong? Select one. I should note here that your responses are completely anonymous, so you can be truthful. Are you A, 21 and under, B, 22 to 34 years old, C, 35 to 44 years old, D, 45 to 54 years old, E, 55 to 64 years old, F, 65 and older, or G, do you decline to respond? Polling is now open. We have about 5 more seconds. So we're pretty evenly split here. The largest number, 1 out of 4, is between the ages of 22 to 34, but we also have large number of 55 to 64-year-olds and 35 to 44-year-olds, so fairly wide distribution. Let's continue. Now, this is the 5th meeting of the Ferguson Commission, and we'd like to know whether or not you've joined us for previous meetings. So, if you have participated in no previous meetings, A is your option, B if you've attended 1 meeting, C if you've attended 2 meetings, D if you've attended 3 meetings, and E if you've attended 4 meetings. Polling is now open. So, almost 6 out of 10 of you have not attended a meeting before, but the rest of you, roughly 4 out of 10, a little more than 4 out of 10, have attended previous meetings. Great. And so our polling activity is now done. These clickers or keypads will not open your garage door. They will not change the channel on your television. So we will come around and collect them. Lest you have a useless piece of equipment at home. Anybody else have a keypad? Great. Looks like we've collected them all. All right. So, for those of you who have attended a previous commission meeting, you know that it is our custom to share with you what the insights were that came out of the previous meeting. Some of you joined us in the past, and so no doubt you participated in the small group discussions or those sorts of things. Some of you may not have, and so it's always a good thing for us to do to reflect on the wisdom of the community that's emerged from earlier sessions. So our last session was on January 10th, and it was a youth summit. So what we'd like to do now is to share with you what came out of that youth summit, certainly as a way of not only informing you, but is a commitment to our principles, one of which is transparency, right, and valuing community input. You can also find these documents and presentations on our website. So, this is an opportunity for us to share Youth Summit polling results and discussion findings, and I'm going to be joined a little later in this presentation by our youth conversation leaders that actually led our small group discussions. So we do something with the keypad results. We document, and each week we can see, or each meeting we can see, what the gathering of attendees or the community of attendees look like. At our last meeting, we had 144 people in attendance. Roughly 6 out of 10 were residents of St. Louis County, and roughly 4 out of 10 were residents of St. Louis City. Also, we asked people again where they worked or went to school, and again, roughly 6 out of 10 were residents of the county, and a large group also were either worked or went to school in St. Louis City, so about 3.5 out of 10. When we asked about gender, again, almost as in this room, 6 out of 10 were women at that session as well, and 3.5 were men, roughly, out of 10. So 2 out of our 3 attendees were African American at our last meeting, and roughly 2 out of 10 were white, and then we had an array of people who identified in other ways who also participated in our meeting. Nearly 5 out of 10 were under 18. So this was great. Remember, this was a youth summit. So roughly half, or almost, about half were under 18, and 8 out of 10 were under 35. So we really had a large group of young people. That was the focus of the meeting. And then when we asked about whether or not they had attended a commission meeting, most had not. Roughly 8 out of 10 had not. As with this session, we typically begin after we do the update in terms of what came out of the preceding meeting with an opportunity for community input fairly early. And we started with a youth open mic session, and then we had small group discussions for youth that were really focused on families and homes, they were focused on schools, and they were focused on communities. I should say that there were older adults who were in attendance, but the target demographic was 14 to 24, and we asked them not to participate in terms of the conversations, but if they had some input or insight they wanted to make, they could write their thoughts down on cards. We wanted to protect that space for the young people to control it and to guide the discussions. So we've got some presenters who are coming, but I'm going to get us started. From the youth open mic, we heard a number of comments, but there were 4 types of comments that came up most frequently. We heard about police brutality and harassment, that Black youth are often negatively stereotyped, that police unfairly target or routinely disrespect them. We heard that race relations was really important and that St. Louis is divided, separate, and unequal. They wanted a region. They were aspirational, though. They really wanted a region where Black lives mattered, where young people were unafraid, and where society felt fair and equitable. We asked them to just share with us their thoughts, and part of what we got was a number of comments that were about the impacts of the crisis that emerged. And so we heard that young people have missed school because of delays in response to the crisis early on, and that a number of young people have gotten into trouble trying to express themselves. Right, so what they really want to do is be heard, and sometimes when they are not, they engage in other kinds of behaviors that capture the public's attention. And then the last sort of bucket of comments that came up frequently in the youth open mics was about youth activism and involvement, and we heard that young people have really been at the forefront of our recent protests, and so they should be acknowledged for their courage and their activism, and that we really need to do a good job of listening to their voices and valuing their opinions and perspectives in our decision making and in our systems reform and community reform efforts. So that's what we got out of the youth open mics. I'm now going to invite Brittany Farrell to come. She was one of our facilitators for our family discussion, and she's going to give you the insights that emerged around families and homes.
Thank you. Hey, good evening. All right, so I facilitated the families and homes portion of the Youth Ferguson Commission a couple weekends ago. And the question was, what do you need to be safe, supported, and healthy in your homes and families? And the number one thing was this very first one, encouragement and empowerment. And what a lot of the young people said was they needed adults to tell them that they're capable of greatness and to make them aware of what they were capable of achieving. And the second common thing that came up amongst the young folks that were in the room were good communication and mutual understanding. Family members need to talk and listen to one another. Then we had guidance and supervision, with the youth saying that they needed direction from their parents. Awareness and accepted was the fourth most common. Families need to accept differences, and families need to know their culture and their history. The fifth would be the loving and caring, which is love being the foundation on which to build a family. And then came truth and transparency, families needing to be honest and to share life's truths. And then security, and that's physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial security. The second question that day was, what should be done to build stronger, more stable families? And the first most common thing with the young folks was demonstrating respect, so valuing all members of the family. The second was increased awareness and exposure, exposing the young people to other cultures, mindsets, and values. The third was maintain quality time, so spending time together as families to strengthen relationships. A lot of young people said things like going to the movies, having family dinner together. They value that. Providing guidance was the fourth, and it was to help shape the youth way of thinking and help shape their choices and their decision making. And the fifth was strengthen community connections. So connecting with neighbors and the community, it takes a village to keep a healthy family strong, or keep a family strong and healthy. So Alexis is going to present the next session that was at the last commission meeting, which is schools.
How's it going? Good evening, everybody. My name is Alexis, once again. You all responded, that's nice. I led schools, and shout out to the young people because they're beautiful. Just wanted to throw that out there. And the first question was, what do you need to advance your learning and success in school? One of the big things was class discussions on various things, but most importantly, education about Ferguson and education about racism. They felt that a lot of their teachers and a lot of their administrators were too quiet on this issue, and they wanted people to speak up, especially where they spend 8 hours of their day. Another thing was school improvements in terms of curriculum, career readiness, and family connections. Teacher involvement and commitment. A lot of young people said that teachers weren't speaking on it. They were quiet, and they were timid about it. And when I spoke at Parkway North, I was told that they weren't allowed to speak on it up until a certain point when they had to go through a training. So the young people wanted the teachers and the administrators to speak up more and to have more commitment on this issue because it's a big deal. Another thing was teacher recruitment training and more engaging instruction. And the final one was teacher and staff support of youth protests and activism. A lot of young people were upset that they couldn't do walkouts. A lot of the young people were upset that they couldn't do die-ins or they couldn't stand up for what they believe in on an issue that's so controversial and so important, whether you disagree or not, within their communities. The other question was, what can you do to improve your school success? One of the big things was activism, and they want to get involved in activism by making their voices heard and issues heard. They wanted to do things like participate in school walkouts and die-ins. The second one was communication by sharing opinions, and they don't want to be silenced, even if their views are unpopular, which I think leads to better discussion. And the teachers should know how to facilitate that so that these discussions can be had whether people disagree or don't, because we all disagree and agree in life, right? The third thing was good communication makes people smarter, which is true. If we know how to talk, you get somewhere. Higher education, so learning about college and various careers. Research pathway programs from high school to college and the workforce so that it's not always about school, right? Sometimes we get thrown into the world and we can't find a job with our degrees. And it's important for the young people to know how to maneuver through that. and they're smart enough to recognize that that's needed. The third one was learn about scholarship opportunities and programs, because everybody can't afford to go to college, right? Student involvement and accountability, which means getting more involved in school, whether that be extracurricular activities, debates, walk-ins, walkouts, die-ins, protesting in the cafeteria with signs. One young man said that he wanted to be able to have his lunch period, and he wanted there to be like an open mic session where kids could come up and they could say what's on their mind about school, and then the kids would discuss it at lunch, and that's how they would spend a portion of their lunch period, and I thought that was fair. Another thing was get peers involved in school projects and activities, and be accountable for your actions. Oh, I'm sorry, I got one more. I apologize. Wait, is this still me? Yeah, my bad. Okay. The final question was, what community supports do you need to be successful? And they said they needed after-school programs, and school programs are getting cut because of funding. There needs to be more community centers for youth, because they need places to go when they get out of school, especially if their funding is being cut. If they have community centers, they don't have to go, they don't have to go stand out on the corners and get in trouble for soliciting and things like that, loitering and things like that. Paid student internships, not only so they can learn the value of financial responsibility, but so that they can put that money into their savings account for college that they can't get, and so they can start working their way towards college. School community discussions, connections, and actions. School community discussions, connections, and actions, and schools should be places for youth to talk about the issues that matter and connect more deeply to their communities. Once again, people spend 8 hours in a building like this. They should be able to talk about what's going on in outside their window. And youth-focused events, so where youth can come and it's just youth. Like things like dare dances, and I don't know if they still do that, I might be old, but dare dances and things like that. It's important. All right, that's it.
All right, good evening. My name is Jessica. I facilitated the conversation about community needs. So we talked about what do you need to feel safe, supported, and healthy in your neighborhood and in your community. So the first thing that they talked about, the main thing that came up, was positive law enforcement and citizen relations. So we talked about communication, and that came up the most across the board. Communication, communication, communication. They want to be able to talk to police officers, talk about what's going on in their community. Respect, empathy, and forgiveness. They talked about the need for forgiveness on both sides. So young people need to forgive, police officers need to forgive. They talked about that reconciliation. Improved media coverage. So they didn't like how the protests were getting illustrated in the media. There was one young lady who worked for the newspaper in her school, and she said, I'm learning all this new stuff about how you're supposed to portray stuff, and you're supposed to just talk about the facts. And I see the way that they're portraying in the media as unethical. And if I know that, then they should know that, right? They talked about youth accountability and better management of their image and behaviors. So they said, we want to take ownership over how we're being portrayed as well. Some of that falls on us as well. They talked about reduction of violence and murders, and they want to break the cycle of violence and crime in their communities. Next, we talk about priorities. So they said police aggression, brutality, and harassment by police. One of the young ladies said, we just want them to smile at us. Just show us that you care. We only see them when there's a problem, and we want to build a relationship. They talked about nightlife. So they said after 8 p.m., there's nothing to do for people under 18. And they gave the example of the loop, and they said, the Del Mar loop. They said the actions of a few, we were all punished by that. And so they would like to see where they have something to do after 8 p.m., and if there's issues, then that person's punished, but not everybody. They talked about race relations and interaction. Again, communication. They want to be able to talk. And again, they brought up how they weren't really able to talk about these issues in their school, and they want to be able to do that. Unequal access, education, and community resources. So a couple of the kids had moved and gone to a couple different school districts and saw the disparities. They said, you know, in one school I had all the books that I needed. In the other school we didn't have any books. And so they want to see equality throughout the districts. They talked about stuff to do in their communities. Some kids in some communities had plenty to do, others didn't. Community pride and development, the need to respect community assets, the need for more retail development and amenities. So they talked about we need to take pride in our community in terms of parks. You know, when we have this public space, let's all chip in and make sure that we keep that up. Community safety. So again, violence is prevalent in the communities. So then we talked about strategies and interventions. And so creating nightlife for teens. So again, creating something where teens can go at night. Because they said that's when really the problems arise. If we had something to do, then there wouldn't be as many issues. Eliminate the inequalities in the different school districts. Improve law enforcement and community relations. And so under that, they said it could be really simple. We just want to sit down and have pizza with some police officers and just talk and build a relationship. They talked about supporting youth programs. And so under that, they said programs that help them to think about how to deal with conflict, programs that help them work through that, and promote positive self-image. Promote personal development and responsibility, so that kind of fits into the programs, and increasing involvement in politics and policy. So those were the things that they wanted to come out of that.
So if you would join me once again for a round of applause for our amazing youth conversation leaders and discussion leaders. They were truly wonderful in running groups for 144 young people over a 3.5 or 4 hour period. So the report that accompanies this is probably 20 plus pages, and it has a deeper dive with all of the information in it if you'd like to read more specifically what the comments are. They were all documented, but these were sort of the high level insights that emerged from that. We are now at the place in our meeting where we invite public commentary. This evening we do have a topic, right? And so our focus is on education and child well-being. And if your remarks are around education and child well-being, we certainly want to hear them. We also know, however, that you may be in this room and have other things that you want to say to the commission that you think are important that are not necessarily focused on that topic. So we're going to take the next 25 minutes or so to open up the conversation so that we can hear from you. I'll be documenting insights over on the board. And so if you've got comments about education and child well-being or general comments that you'd like to make to the commission, our next period is the opportunity to do so. I'm going to call Lorna Godwin up because we asked you all to sign in if you were interested in speaking, and she will invite you to come speak to the commission using a fishbowl process. Yeah.
My name is Lorna Godwin, and as Rebecca said, I'm going to take you through the public open mic period. We have 25 minutes to do this. We are going to start out with our topic this evening, which is education and child well-being. So when you came in, we asked you if you wanted to speak. So to be equitable in who gets to speak, I'm going to pull names from this fishbowl. You have 2 minutes. I will time you. When your 2 minutes is up, you're up. You're finished. And I will then call several others, and for about 8 minutes, we will do general comments. So first, this is the fishbowl for those who wanted to talk about education well-being. And when you come up, please state your name and your title for the commission. So the first one is Anthony Levine. Is Anthony still here? And after Anthony, Deanne Toussaint? Is Deanne here? Please raise your hand. Great.
Hello, I'm Tina Kramer, and since we're talking about education, we definitely have to mention the disparity as far as the amount of experience that the teachers have, as well as their education level. If you go to Brentwood or Clayton, in their high school, almost 100% of their teachers have master's degrees. When you go to St. Louis City, you have almost 30% that have master's degrees. Now, these are the future leaders of our communities. However, in our areas that are less funded, we get the teachers who've only had experience for maybe 5 years on average, and then they're going to the Claytons and the Brentwoods. So is there something that we can do? Is there a program that we have that would distribute equally the amount of experience as well as the education level of the teachers that are teaching our high school and middle school students? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker. And then after that, get ready. David Jackson. Is David? And then Amir Brandy. Amir? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Deanne Toussaint, and I am a parent as well as a future educator. I attend Harrisville State University, and I'm an elementary education major. And the reason why I chose to do that is because I'm fed up. I started my quest as an advocate for my children, and now I'm an advocate for my community. And as a future teacher, I want to be able to be placed into my community and educate my children. But the problem I have is the politics. I want to be able to teach. I don't want to play politics. Children don't understand that. They're at school to learn, and I want to be a part of that. And I wish that someone would listen and take politics out of these schools and start placing these children first. Thank you.
Thank you. David?
Good evening. First of all, let me clarify. My name is David Jackson. I'm president of the Board of Education for the city of St. Louis. I believe our number is slightly higher than 30% of the personnel that has MBAs, but also we are the highest number of PhDs in any school district in the state. I also would like to thank this commission and the opportunity, because of the last time that I presented was at the first meeting, that my statements about other organizations throughout this region that have not addressed racism in this region. There seems to be those same organizations now stepping up to the plate and having an impact on having that discussion. Better Together is one of the organizations who have really been vocal on not only racism but disparity in the region. As far as education, I would like this commission to consider, and it'd be nice if you can invite some legislators who, whatever recommendations you make, it's going to take the legislature to enact those and to have an impact. And it'd be nice if we look at the funding formula for the public schools in the state of Missouri. It's horrible. It is underfunded, approximately between $600 and $700 million. There is also an issue because a lot of parents, they voted for gambling because they thought the gambling revenue was going to help public education. Well, what happens is the governor takes those revenues from the gaming, and he withhold that amount from the public education budget. And so rather than the budget increasing, it actually maintains at the level it is because the governor utilizes those dollars. And he can do that. And I think that's one of the things the commission needs to include in their dialogue, that somehow we need to prevent the governor from messing with or utilizing those gambling revenues. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. As Amir comes up, after Amir, Shirlisa DeWitt. Did I get that right? Pruitt. Shirlisa Pruitt, are you here? Okay, and then Jeff Forrest. Raise your hand so I can, okay. So those will be next. 2 minutes, thanks.
Good evening. My name is Amir Brandy, and I have been made aware that there are business-minded people who have targeted the St. Louis public system for private business. And they are the hedge program is what they were, what I was told that this was about. And what they're doing is they're determining the level of education based on your zip code. They are determining the level of the educators based on your zip code. And from that, they are determining the course in which you are directed based on your educational experience. This is why we had situations like what we've seen in Normandy, where people were concerned about the kids from Normandy affecting their test scores. If education is distributed equally across the state, I would imagine that they all pull from the same source. And if they don't pull from the same source, then we have the responsibility to make sure that these kids are equally educated so that they qualify to go to the Ivy League or whatever college they choose. They are educated enough to be able to score high enough to be eligible to go to these schools. And I think that as the commission move forward, that they check into this and make sure that that is the case. Thank you.
Thank you.